50% straight down, with a payment plan to buy out half of the house. We had shared custody, but the boys wanted to live with him. I haven't seen my eldest daughters in a long time. They don't return my phone calls. I only found out one of them was in a serious relationship when he mentioned it. It was surreal when it happened, watching him sign the papers, causing so much pain in my chest. When he took his ring off and placed it on the paper, I felt a ball in my throat, and when he left, I realized I never apologized to him. I grabbed the pin and just stared at the ring. At that moment, I realized how much I messed up. I destroyed my marriage, my relationship with my children, and I think I was in an abusive relationship, and I just cried. I couldn't breathe. I was too incoherent, but eventually, I signed it. A week after my divorce was finalized, my lover hit me for the first time. I was telling him about my day, and I bumped into the nightstand and knocked over his phone. He gave me this look, slapped me, and called me clumsy. I called my ex, and the first thing he asked was, "Does he touch my children?" I told him no, and he just hung up. I cried so hard that night. Soon, my lover got comfortable using his hands. It went on for 2 months, and at the time, I felt like I deserved it. My ex never laid a hand on me. My lover did, and to me, it was karma. It only stopped when he hit one of my daughters who was home from college due to the pandemic. She was the only one who wanted to stay at the house. The 2 older ones stood at their dad's side. One phone call from her, and my ex walked into the house, offered my lover a free hit before beating him into a bleeding pulp. My ex was stone-faced the entire time. No emotions. I had to beg to stop him. He looked at our daughter's bruised face and asked her what hand he used to hit her, and he broke his right hand by stomping on it. When it was over, my ex took him and dragged him outside. Not once did he look at me. Not once did he acknowledge me. He took him to the hospital and told the ER that my lover fell down a flight of stairs. My husband stood by my lover's side. I did not know what they spoke about, but the following day, my lover quit the job and left me. I kept working, and my ex began screwing some of my single friends, even a couple of my coworkers. One of them was the girl who convinced me to cheat. I only found out after the fact when my coworker was stressing over him, bragging to the other girls how he blew her back out, constantly asking me about him and why he won't return her phone call. It hurt me to know that he was doing that. I think he was doing that on purpose. I dated a few guys, but it never lasted. I'm a single mother of 5 children, and that seemed to push men away. Then there was the looking back even with my lover. None of them could satisfy me the way my ex could, which made me wonder why I allowed this to happen. I was happy. How did I let myself get manipulated? I don't understand why. During this time, my house was always quiet. My boys were either locked in their room or at their dad's. My daughters, with the exception of my third-born, refused to talk to me, and it was hurting. My ex saw this and conducted a family meeting. He had all the kids in the house, and I was happy to have all of our children under one roof, but the majority didn't want to be there. He began telling the kids to talk to me, and my youngest called me a inappropriate word removed. This shocked me. It hurt me so much, and my ex slapped him right in front of me. "Have I ever called your mother that?" he barked, and our son shook his head. "Your mother takes care of you. She loves you, and you will respect her. What happened between us has nothing to do with you. All of you will start respecting your mother. Do I make myself clear?" He looked at all of our children, and it spoke volumes. My relationship with my children began to improve. During the 2nd-year anniversary of our divorce, we were civil. We laughed, talked. He constantly came over to the house to fix things, to talk about the kids, and for a while, I had my husband back and I leaned in, but he shoved me and said no before walking away. A month later, he began dating our youngest teacher. She's 10 years younger than him, and they have a lot of common interests. She's extremely attractive, and I tried to be civil while they were dating, but it hurt seeing him looking at her the way he looked at me, how he touched her, made her laugh. She was the center of his attention, and I understood why people envied us, why they kept telling me how lucky I was that devotion, why I never noticed it. I had my nervous breakdown when I heard that they were expecting and they were getting married. I woke up with him by my side, wiping the stray strands from my face, and I just cried, begging him for forgiveness for destroying our family, and he said nothing. He just let me talk while holding me. He visited me every day, only leaving my side to talk to his fiancée, and she even came over to check up on me. I don't deserve their sympathy, her kindness. She even found me a therapist that they paid for. My therapist was blunt to say the least. She said I was having a midlife crisis, and instead of talking to my husband, I allowed these young women to manipulate me. She explained that they wanted to sabotage my marriage because they were single, most likely will never marry, and saw me as easy prey misery loves company. And the fact that the main instigator screwed my ex-husband only proved it. After a few months of sessions, she saw how I am still struggling with it and suggested to post, create a throwaway account, and let the pain flow. It is therapeutic and a unique alternative to group therapy. My ex's new wife is a lovely person. She comes over a lot to check up on me. She talks to me, makes sure I'm okay. And as much as I wanted to dislike her, I can't. She's too nice, and their twin boys are beautiful. My ex also comes around to make sure I'm okay. If I'm eating, telling me that despite what happened, I will always be the mother of his children, and he will always be there for me as a friend. He even came over last Saturday and let me sleep while he cleaned up the house and had breakfast waiting for me. That made me break down and cry. I miss him so much. I miss my husband. I miss my best friend. Till this day, I don't understand how I was so easily manipulated. I'm so alone. My kids are here, but we're not as close as we used to be, but they're here. Yet, the one person I want the most is not. He moved on, and I'm the reason why. Someday, I will move on with my life, but for right now, I deserve this. I deserve everything. Edit. I spoke to someone in the messages and wanted to set the matter straight. I wanted to talk about what my ex went through, but I felt like it wasn't my place to talk about his pain. I tried to make amends countless times, but he wanted nothing to do with me. It didn't help that my affair partner didn't want to leave me alone, no matter what I did. He just wouldn't leave me alone. I felt trapped during the affair. I was in this weird haze. It's hard to explain. It was like an out-of-body experience. That day was supposed to be the last time, and he left a mark on me. I remembered when I begged my ex to give me another chance. It was days after he found out. He just looked at me and walked away. Only 3 times he spoke to me. When he tried to be civil when signing the divorce papers, when I called him when my partner hit me, and the day after he nearly finished my affair partner. On that day, he unloaded everything on me, as I mentioned before. He has a habit of letting everything fester before he explodes. He yelled at me about my stupid choices, about destroying him, how he doesn't have the luxury to mourn our marriage because he needs to be strong for the kids, and I just cried because I broke this man. This strong man who would have tried to find a way to freeze hell if I asked him. I apologized, but he didn't want to hear my apology. He told me that my affair partner will never bother me again and left. It took a year before we became conversational. Before that, he wanted nothing to do with me. When he started fooling around with some of the women I knew, I just let him be. I knew why he was doing it, and I felt it was well-deserved. It was after that family meeting when he began acting civil for the kids' sake, and during that time, I truly realized what I destroyed. After the family meeting, little by little, my kids began to talk to me again. My youngest took the longest, but I tried. Oh God, did I try to make amends with the kids? I needed to fix what I broke with them. They were my top priority. As the kids saw my efforts, they slowly opened up, but not as much. During that second year, seeing my kids laughing in the house while my ex-husband joked around or helping around with chores, cooking on the grill, and dancing with the girls, I thought that if I made the effort, showing him how much I was sorry, that I could win him back. I did everything that I could. Asked for couple counseling, to start over, wore every outfit he bought me, his favorite perfume, had my hair just how he liked it, but he just ignored me. That's why I tried to kiss him that day. I thought there was a moment, but he stopped me. I cried, I pleaded, and he just looked at me. He told me that he couldn't be with me because I broke him. He will never kiss me because I had another man in my mouth. He will never hold me because I had another man touch me. He will never sleep with me because I allowed another man to sleep beside me. I pointed out the women he had been with after our divorce, and he made it clear that it happened after our divorce. What I did was during our marriage. Your body and heart belong to me, just like my body and heart belong to you, he said, and you destroyed that. I'm trying to just be his friend, but it's hard. I've been married to this man for over 20 years, and I ruined it in 6 months for what? A midlife crisis. for my desperate need for female friends, and an urge to want to fit in. I look back and I do not know who that person was. Everything was out of character for me. My third-born understood, and if it wasn't for her being there for me, I would have ended my life. She kept me sane, kept me safe. I had no idea she was home that day. Usually, the mistreatment happens when the kids are gone or while we're driving to and from work. I always dread it when they leave. Yet, I allowed him to do that to me because I felt like I deserved it. That night, I stood up for myself. I told him to leave, and he didn't like that one bit. When he hit me and pinned me against the wall, my daughter appeared out of nowhere and jumped on his back. When he hit me again, he flipped her over and backhanded her. I hit him and ran into the garage with my little girl. He was knocking hard on the door, and she called her father. He practically broke through the garage door when my ex arrived, and I had to stop him, otherwise, my ex would have ended him. His new wife is a godsend for him. She allowed him to love again, allowed him to be himself again. I didn't want to be a part of his new life, but she insisted. She was also in an abusive relationship before meeting my husband. She wanted no animosities, and trust me, she made it clear that she has claws and is not afraid to use them if I overstep. My children adore her. She was the English teacher to the majority of them. After all, I just had these moments of overwhelming guilt that is crippling. Yes, I still work for that company, and I eventually became a manager and fired those women. I knew all of their dirty secrets, so getting rid of them wasn't an issue. I just miss what I had, that's all.